It's Tuesday. Time for another episode of Mart Radio.
Oh, did you miss me? Well, guess what? I'm selling it. That's right, and I'm going to keep on selling it.
It's the Mart Radio Show.
Some of it you're going to like, some of it you ain't.
Mart Radio.
Okay, and welcome once again to the Mart Radio Show. Boy, we got something for you tonight. I tell you, it's just so many things are going on in the world today, and I was just looking through Facebook, and you're not going to believe this, but when you look at Facebook and you see these young guys with all this money spread it all across the bed, and they just having a good time. But guess what? When the time comes and you need some insurance, those same people with all that money spread across the bed are the ones asking you to go fund me. I am one person who, I'm not going to say I will never go fund someone for a funeral. I will say that I don't think I want to, because everybody knows that one day we're going to leave here. And we never know when it's going to happen. So it's very important that we get some life insurance. So parents, if those are your kids that with all the money spread out across the bed, do you have life insurance? Tonight we're going to talk about how important it is to have that life insurance. Because I don't know if you've ever experienced it, but I tell you, there's some people right now that's looking to bury a loved one with no life insurance. But before we get started, we're going to take a break, and we're going to get it all together, and we're going to come back. So it's the Mart Radio Show. We'll be right back.
This portion of the show is brought to you by Kit's Mini Mart, 317 East Caswell Street, Kinston, where you can find women's dresses and shoes, men's jeans and shoes. Also, they have snow cones with all the flavors, fresh pork skins, and peanuts, where they sell the best for less. Kit's Mini Mart, 317 East Caswell Street, right here in Kinston.
We're going to ask Beth first. We're going to ask you, since you got a little expertise with this life insurance. We're going to let you talk about it first, and then we're going to come back with some questions, okay?
Sure.
So with your expertise and what you know about the life insurance, we're going to start out with you.
All right, sure. Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to speak. I have been licensed by the North Carolina Department of Insurance for about 5 years. There is another person on our panel who practices insurance sales, but unfortunately she's not here, but I am qualified to speak. Life insurance can accomplish so many different things. If you are looking to grow your income, if you are looking to make sure your children are taken care of. But today, for this purpose, we're going to talk about basic life insurance. Because as our host alluded to, there are people right here today, right now, who are dealing with the emotional loss of a loved one, maybe suddenly, or someone they have watched suffer for a long time. And now, on top of the emotional toll of losing someone that they love, they are having to deal with the fact that that person did not have any life insurance. Therefore, the family is going to have to cover that cost. All families are not blessed to have a lot of funds to be able to do that. There are different ways that life insurance can be purchased at a fairly reasonable cost, no matter a person's age. Of course, life insurance is less expensive usually when someone is younger, because statistically, someone younger does not have health issues that someone older has. However, there is life insurance for everyone, and for burial purposes, you can probably bury or cremate, have a nice service for a family member for probably $5,000 to $8,000. And so for $5,000 to $8,000, life insurance is not that much of a premium. If a person loves their family, as most of us say we do, one of the biggest favors they can do for their family is to purchase life insurance, because that is one burden that they can take off of that family.
My second question is it possible for a person to take out life insurance on a person without their knowledge or their consent?
There are certain criteria for a person to be insured, and one of the criteria has to be an insurable interest. And so you would have to have an interest in that person being insured. Also, whenever you take out insurance on a person, you have to have their personal information, such as their social security number and their date of birth, and you would also have to have their signature.
Well, I guess that answered my question. So if you had a brother or sister that you wanted to take out some life insurance on it, they would actually have to consent to you doing that.
Yes. That would be an insurable interest, an immediate family member, but you would have to have their consent.
Okay. Well, that answered my question. Okay.
Can you speak on withdrawals of cash funds towards these policies? How does that affect the amount that you get if someone dies and the amount that they're supposed to have? How does that work with surrendering and withdrawing cash?
Yes, absolutely. It's a great question. If someone has 50,000 per se life insurance, after a certain number of years, it will begin building life insurance cash value. Not usually in the very beginning. It usually takes 5 or 7 years for that to kick in, almost like being vested. Mm-hmm. But then at that point, you can withdraw, you can borrow against that. There is a chart that shows the cash value per year. If you wanted to draw out $6,000 to buy a deck on a policy, to build a deck on a policy that you have for a really long time, and then the person who was insured passed away, they would get the $50,000 minus the cash value that had been drawn out.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Anything else?
We could talk all night about insurance because there's so many different types. But again, I implore you to contact someone local, ask a friend. There are a lot of licensed insurance agents. Ask a friend, buy local.
Okay. Well, let's take a little brain break, and we'll be right back right after this. Good evening, and once again, welcome to the Ray Mark Radio Show. Today, we got some very exciting stuff for you today, and I tell you, some of it you're going to like, some of it you're not. But we're going to get right into it. First, we're going to talk about relationships. And we're going to put the marriage in there also, because that's a part of relationship also. So, first, let's go to Chiquita. And what do you think about that marriage thing?
Okay. Well, no matter how long you've been in a marriage or a relationship, whether it's 1 year, 10 years, or 50 years, no relationship is perfect. We know and understand that Jesus Christ is perfect, right?
Right.
Therefore, we should know that it's impossible for two non-perfect people to have a perfect marriage or relationship. So, what do we do? Like when the honeymoon phase is over and the infatuation period ends. My advice is, before throwing in the towel, just be sure that you've done all that you can do to make the best of your marriage or your relationship. If all else fails, either you choose to keep trying or you get out.
Okay, but before you get out, shouldn't you try some counseling? Do you think that's a good idea?
I do, but what if one of those people don't want to do it? One does and the other one doesn't.
And that happens most of the time. But if the husband wants to stay in a marriage or a relationship, and he wants counseling, he thinks that counseling is a good idea, then 9 times out of 10, the problem is the wife or the other spouse, in my opinion, because he is trying to save the relationship, but she's not. So that means he's trying and she's not.
Oh, so why you just putting it on the women? It could be vice versa. The woman might be trying to save the relationship, and the man is being stubborn and don't want to go to counseling.
Then she should, if the woman is trying to save it, then she's going to be the one to agree to counseling. If he says, no, I don't want to go to counseling, then apparently he's the problem. Right?
I understand that.
Counseling, I think, is very good. As I look back in my past, I think counseling would have probably saved me. But, you know, when you're young, you're kind of stubborn-headed, and you think whatever you do is right, and you don't take into consideration the other person. And, you know, once you get older, those things change. And so many things that happened back then that you look at now as we've gotten older, then we look at things a little bit different. And you look back and you say, I wish I hadn't have done it that way.
Don't you think that whenever you're young, you have a lot of pride? And sometimes your pride can make you stubborn. And whenever you put your relationship first, sometimes you have to put your pride aside. You just do. Sometimes you just, you can, like Steve Harvey says, you can be right or you can be married, but, you're not always going to be the same. So.
And they always say that a happy wife?
Happy spouse, happy house.
Okay. And I try that very hard because getting ready to go into something new, you always look at that back then. I tell you, we had a lot of response to our thing with this relationship last week. So it's been a very short week, but we're going to get right back in where we left off, and we're going to start it off with Beth. Beth, it's all yours.
Hey, good evening, everybody. One thing we're going to talk about tonight is red flags, things you should pay attention to early in a relationship. And the first thing that comes to mind is jealousy. Sometimes a young, naive person may be flattered if their significant other, gets upset whenever someone else, maybe a person of the opposite sex, talks to them or smiles or hugs them. Certain things there's nothing meant in it other than absolute friendship, but yet that person is going to make a big deal out of something that was not meant to be a big deal. That is definitely a red flag. That's something that someone should pay attention to, because jealousy can just grow and grow, and some things are not going to go away. And the more you invest in a relationship, sometimes the more jealous a person is. It is not flattering. It could be, eventually it could be dangerous. So jealousy is definitely a red flag. That's something that somebody needs to be aware of.
So how many times does that have to happen in order for you to consider it a problem?
Twice.
Just 2 times. Okay.
And I don't know why men want to get jealous. If another man looks at his woman, let them look. He should be proud that somebody else has their eyes on her.
Well, that's always been my thing. I always tell them that man sees the exact same thing I see. Okay? It's okay to look as long as you don't touch.
Look, but don't touch.
And don't disrespect. Okay? Because if you want to look, look.
I've told my husband, I said, you don't want anybody nobody else wants. I mean, golly.
That's right.
Exactly. But you have a lot of men that get so offended by another man looking. And I think that, like you said, I think that's a problem early in the beginning. So, men, you got to get some self-confidence.
That's right.
I went
Okay.
to school with a guy, and I saw him in the store, and I had not seen him in a long time. I just had not seen him in a long time, and I always liked him as a friend. Absolute just a friend. And I started to go to hug him because I had not seen him. You know, I'm a hugger by nature. I'm just a hugger. And he said, "Girl, don't you hug me. My old lady's out there in the car. She'll beat me down."
Oh,
I said, "For
wow.
what?"
Really?
Yes,
Oh,
that
wow.
that is a problem.
Well, you got some women the same way. Insecurity.
That's right. Insecurity and trust again.
I don't want to say trust because, if I had a wife and she was in the store and you peeped in the window, you're sitting in the car and you see at the register and she hugging some guy, you'd be like, what's that all about? Do you say anything or you just let it go?
Something might have happened before. If you don't fully trust your significant other, that's what I meant by the hugging part. Okay? If you hug that person knowing that your woman or man doesn't fully trust you, I mean, that's just something you have to deal with, you know?
Yes. And if you've been in a relationship for a while, you know how your spouse or significant other is going to react.
That's right.
So you already know. I'm not going to let this guy hug me because when I get home tonight, it's going to be a whole bunch of drama.
Gonna be trouble.
That's
But
right.
But you know what though? Being jealous of a person is not going to stop that person from cheating. If a person is going to cheat, whether you're jealous or not, they're going to cheat because their nature that way. I feel like I don't think being jealous is going to stop that. I think that's a very wasted emotion because you can't stop it.
True. I agree with you. I agree with that. But we live in a society where men will be men. And this is the way they think.
Slide into the DM.
That's it. So that jealousy thing is going to always be there.
That's right. And one of my red flags would be a controlling man. Some men, I guess they get it mixed up with being the alpha male. I think every woman kind of wants an alpha male to, be there, to be the head of the household and to do this and to do that. But it's different actually being controlling.
I think what happens is a lot of men, they confuse being in charge. Like the Bible says that the man is the head after God becomes the man. Okay? But that doesn't mean that you are in control over everything. It doesn't mean that the spouse has no say-so.
That's right.
It's always got to be your way or no way. And I think they have taken that out of content. Men, we got to get back to the basics. We got to get back to allowing your spouse to be your spouse.
Right.
Okay?
It's my way or the highway. Men have to realize that, women have opinions about things too. It's not always going to be your way. You have to compromise on things,
And that's so true. And I'm just saying, I'm not taking the men's side or the women's side. I'm just telling you the way it should be. Okay? That's the way I want to be. All right? So if I want to be that way, this is what I'm preaching. That this is the way it's supposed to be. Men, let your women be a woman. Okay? She has a role and you have a role. Okay? You don't have both roles. Okay? You have the role of the male. Let her have the role of the female. Okay? And one of the red flags, I don't want to tell you what the red flag is, so we're going to go back to you because that red flag is going to be in reverse.
Now, when you said the man has a role and the woman has a role, now I hope you're not thinking that the woman has to cook or the man has to, do something masculine, because we're living in, it's 2023,
And we are not in the 30s and 40s.
True.
Okay. The woman has a role and the men have a role. Now, when we come to cooking and cleaning, taking care of the house, taking care of the children, That's both roles
Together.
together. There is no reason why a woman should work all day, come home, and have to cook dinner when her husband or significant other is there all day.
Right.
Okay, we're going to be discussing long distance relationships. We know some of you dislike that. Some of you say that will never work. And some of you say, yes, it will. Some of you been in it and some of you haven't. But tonight, we're going to talk about the pros and cons of a long distance relationship. We're going to start this off with Teresa tonight. Teresa, tell us about long distance relationships.
First of all, let me say that I'm very glad to be back. Thank you for your prayers, phone calls, and texts. But let me get right to the subject. Actually, nobody goes into a relationship saying that they want it to be long distance. But you can't help who you fall in love with. So my thing is that no matter how far you are, or if you're close, you're right next door, whatever, it's all in what you make. Commitment, understanding. I think you have to have boundaries. You got to set your rules of what's going to be, what you're expecting. You have to go in it knowing that, we're both working towards something, closer. Perhaps eventually somebody has to move or whatever. But as long as you leave those doors open of communication and you're telling, each other what you want and what you expect, then I think it'll be okay. It's all about trust and communication. So if you want it to work, it'll work.
Okay. But now, let me ask you a question. How far do you think is too far to have a long distance relationship?
I don't see any too far because if you want to go, they got planes, trains. You know what I'm saying? So I can't say, for instance, if you're 900 miles away or if you're 50 miles away. Again, it all depends on what both of you all want. Now, I'm not going across seas. I'm not going to tell you that part. I'm not going to do that. But it definitely has to be, reachable, that I can get there, I can fly there, I can drive there, whatever. But like I said, again, it's all in communication. You both have to sit down and come to, some kind of agreement that this is going to be this, this is going to be that. And sometimes you either have to say, well, we're not expecting it to be this long, that long, whatever. But you still have to set your boundaries, I guess, and go from there. It's all on both people. It's not just one person, And
sometimes long distance relationships are not intentional. I can share an experience that I had when I first went to college in 1991. I met this guy who is now my son's father. We were dating, and he actually lived in Florida, and me living in North Carolina. So when he left school, he went back to Florida. I actually went there maybe 3 times to live, but I was young and I was homesick, so I wanted to come back home. Then he moved to North Carolina. We were just trying to find ways, to keep the relationship going. And then when there's a child involved, that's when we really had to make a decision of where we were going to live and where we were going to take the relationship. So I really think it's what you make it.
So did the distance or the miles have anything to do? Is that relationship is over?
We're still friends right now, but yes, it's over.
Did the distance, was that a factor in the breakup, or was it other things?
It was kind of other things. We kept trying until my son was 5 years old. So when he started kindergarten, I told myself I'm not going to have him in and out of school from this state to this state. So once he started kindergarten at 5 years old, I pretty much stayed here. So we pretty much ended it, but we're much better as friends.
So was a plan established early in the relationship as to who would relocate if, in fact, the relationship went to another level?
Actually, we did not plan where we were going to live. Like I said, we were young. I was, 21 when I had my son, and, he was 4 years older, but he wasn't really established himself. We were still living with our parents. So we really didn't say where we were going to live, but we had our own place when I did move to Florida. It just didn't work because, like I said, I'm a country girl and I was homesick. So eventually I came back home.
Okay. Beth, what you think?
I think it can work. you just have to have, I'm telling you, it's all about trust. Everything is about trust, and you have to be mature. If you are involved in a long distance relationship and you try to get in touch with that person, you send them a text and they do not answer you, you cannot be jumping to conclusions. I'm not saying trust anything and everything they say, because sometimes that's bad. But as a general rule, you have to be mature enough and understand that although they are in a relationship with you, they may have a life established there. They may have friends there. They may be involved in a church or some kind of civic organization. They may have other responsibilities outside of work. So for those reasons, you have to be able to trust them, that if they do not respond every time you pick up the phone, that it's not a suspicious situation.
I'm glad you said that, because here's the scenario. You're in a long distance relationship. You call him. He don't answer. You hear nothing. The next day, he returns your call. Now, do you get suspicious? Do you think there's some trust issues there? You think something is happening that shouldn't be happening? Or do you use effective communication and ask questions?
You don't get suspicious to begin with, not the first time.
Right.
But if it's a habit, if it's a thing, it will come out that if you have something to be concerned about.
Now, you know on the phones now, if you was to call someone and they're on the phone or they can't get to you, they got a little button you hit, say, boom, can I call you back later? Now, that tells me that you're busy or you're doing something that you can't take my call. That's cool.
All right.
I'm cool. Teresa, go ahead and say it.
Well, I think that the suspicion come in, for instance, with that scenario that you use. In relationships where, it's different. For instance, if I'm calling and whether you can talk at the moment or not, that little, I cannot call you later or whatever, and that's what you're used to. But then it comes to a point where I don't get anything from you that's unusual. I think that's where a lot of the doubt will come in, because now you're changing up. So when you're used to something and it just goes left, then it puts doubt. It doesn't necessarily mean that anything is happening. But I'm just saying, when you're used to something, like you said, well, babe, I called you and you didn't even call me back. If you're used to them at least calling you back later that night and say, well, I was doing whatever, even if it's a story, you're used to that. But when it's nothing and it's unusual, and then it happens, constantly happen, and then at a certain time of the night, so suspicion come in and you're hearing it. But a lot of times, if you're able to talk about it, then it's fine. But then you got a lot of people that, don't want to be questioned, and now we're going to the fussing part. So you got to be able to express your feelings and why you feel that way without having to worry about saying that you're arguing. And I think if that happens, then that's where a lot of the doubt will come in, versus at least, saying something. Communication. That's
You can track somebody on your phone. There are ways to track a person.
If a woman was tracking me, internet dating. I don't know how many of you have tried internet dating, but I tell you, the majority of the people, they look down on it. And I don't know why. I guess they are afraid to try it. But it has advantages and disadvantages, just like everything else. A lot of people are used to saying that, what happened to the traditional way of meeting someone? Well, it's still there. But sometimes meeting someone locally is somewhat frowned on right now, because you don't want them to know exactly who you are, where you live, and anything like that. So people are now going out on the internet, because internet has advantages, because you get to date when you choose to date, and you are interviewing people when you want to. So we're going to get right into that. We're going to go to Beth first, and Beth is going to, you got any questions about it or experience or anything you want to share?
Hey, good evening. I have not had experience with internet dating, All my relationships have been someone local that I knew or I came to know personally. I do know two couples who met, one way back on Yahoo Personals, and they are still together today. That's been maybe 15 years ago, and they are still married. And then there's a couple in my own family. But I mean, for someone, I'm not looking, but if I were looking, what do you do? Is there a website, or do you just Google internet dating? I mean, if a person were to be interested, what would they do?
Well,
I've never had experience internet dating, but I know that there are several platforms out there that you can go to if you want to see who's compatible with you, just to see who's out there.
well, I have experience. I have been on social media dating sites for probably about a year. I looked at it as entertainment, first of all. First thing you do, you're going to set up a profile. Okay? You're going to put all the things about you. And that makes it easier when you do it this way versus meeting somebody in person. Because on the internet, you can be whoever you want to be. Right? So you can tell them whatever you want them to know.
So do you mislead them? Is that what you're saying?
I'm not going to say most, I'm going to say some people do. There is some honest people out there that's going to tell you exactly who they are. And that way you get to choose whether you are compatible with them. Okay? A lot of times you have some people on there that's going to mislead you. They're going to tell you all the things that they think you want to hear, because that's what they're going to give you. But trust me, in the long run, it's all going to come out. Okay? So first you're going to set up this profile, and they're going to go online, and they're going to scroll through. They're going to see your picture. That's the first thing they're going to look for, a picture. Then they're going to go down and read your profile, see the things that you like, your dislikes, and what you are searching for. Okay? Now, honestly, sometimes if you're looking at that picture in the profile and they only have one, that is considered a red flag.
Oh.
And just when you said sometimes it's entertainment, that's true. If you're really not looking for love, you can go up there and put what you want. Just like you said, you can be whoever you want to be. But I think if you're really searching for love and a mate, you're going to be truthful and honest and put your real things, real likes and dislikes. And that way you can see, hopefully they're honest as well. And then you can see if you're compatible. Because if you go up there and you're dishonest and you start a relationship, it's going to come to light anyway. And it's going to be over as soon as you know it.
Hey, look, back in the day when it was Yahoo Personals, my husband and I would look at Yahoo Personals together for entertainment. We would just look, and some of those were really, really funny, honestly. And some, I think they meant to be funny, and some were not trying to be funny. But we would do that together. We wouldn't, do that behind each other's back. But now, are there formats for different types of people? Like, I think I've seen some kind of cowboy dating thing on TV.
Absolutely.
And onlyfarmers.com or something.
They have so many right now. Whoever you are, you want a
interracial
cowboy,
mingle swingle,
You got it.
whatever. I mean,
you got it all. You got it all.
You want to do the swirl? They got swirl.com. I don't know.
They got some down here, date a rich woman. They got that. Yes. But I guarantee you, it's probably 50% fake. Okay? But once you get that profile set up, and then you go to scrolling, okay? You look through, you find that one that catches your eye, You look and see how many profile pictures she got. Boom, boom. She got the full body. She got the close ups. She got the pets. She got the children. Mostly, you don't want to put your children because you don't want to attract somebody that's going to be attracted to your children. First of all, we have to safeguard those children. So if you ever see that, I look at that as a red flag also. Okay? You don't want to, you do not want somebody not really attracted to you, they're attracted to your children. So let's keep the children safe. That's one of the no-nos.
And to me, you can't always look at the profile picture as well. I mean, the eye likes what it likes, but if you pick somebody like, oh, he's so handsome or she's beautiful, other people are thinking the same thing. She might be up there dating 10 people. That means, I mean, she's not really for you, you know?
And there are filters out there, Photoshop. I mean,
Oh, yes.
I mean, a 50-year-old can look 20.
Especially if she takes and put her high school picture there. Now, her profile picture is 20 years old. Okay?
Picture of a relative.
Now, that comes into catfishing. Okay? They're going to take and put a relative's young, nice, attractive girl, they'll put the picture up and say that that's them. Okay? But if you're smart about it, but most men are not smart about it, I'm sorry, but that's just the truth. They are going to be attracted to that picture, and they're going to go after the individual. Okay? You have to be smart about it. Be honest. There is some honest people there. I can honestly tell you that there are some honest people that I've met, some amazing women from 5-6 years ago that I am still to this day friends with. Boy, we got a hot topic for you tonight. We're going to start this thing out with a little message that I received a few days ago with my 14-year-old grandson. He gave me a call and he says, Papa, can I borrow you $20? I don't expect him to pay me back, but when someone else that works and has a job and they call you and say, can I borrow you $20? I expect them to be paid back. So tonight we're going to talk about those families and friends that love to borrow money, but when it comes time to pay it back, they either forgot to pay you or they take it as a gift. But if they say, can I borrow it? Okay? There's a difference between borrowing and can I have or can you donate? There's a big difference, but a lot of people get it confused. So we're going to talk about that tonight. We're going to talk about those family members that just keep borrowing and borrowing and borrowing, but they don't never come back to say, here you go, I want to pay you back. Me personally, in my lifetime, there's been some times where I had to borrow, and I like to go pay it back and give them a little interest in it. Okay? And it's just me. I think everybody should be that way. But we're going to go around the table tonight because that's not happening today. You got some people who come and borrow money. They don't pay you back. They take it as a gift. And then they come right back sometime later. Same people want to borrow money again. But with me, that's okay, because if you borrow it one time, that's okay. You ain't got to pay me back because you're never going to get it again. Okay, Beth, you ever had anybody to borrow some money and just outright just refuse to pay you back, pretend like they forgot?
You know, I had someone who I loaned some money. He came to me. He gave me this sob story. And he was down and out, and he needed $400. And he said that his bank account had been compromised, and he needed some change to the end of the month. So I gave him the $400. It was a borrowed repayment situation. However, I did not get the money back at the end of the month. So time passed, And he contacted me. He said, you know, I've been planning on paying you back, but I was out on the road. I was riding down Highway 95. A tire blew out, blah, blah, blah. I'll get you paid back. And I said, okay.
Okay, with that $400, did your husband know about you loaning the $400?
He did. I discussed this with my husband because it was not a relative, and we generally discuss stuff.
Okay, so your husband, did he have a problem with that non-payment not happening?
My husband suspected it might go down that way from the very beginning.
So did your husband give you some advice not to do it?
He did not.
So-
This was someone that my husband knew from his teenage years and somebody that I had worked with in the past. So it was somebody we were both very, very familiar with.
So my question now is, if the wife loans money to a person, family member or friend, should she inform the spouse before this money is loaned?
In our household, yes. I would appreciate that. We have goals. We don't have every dollar obligated out, but we have goals.
Teresa?
$400 might make a difference.
Teresa, what you think?
About
If the wife loans out money to a family member or friend, should she inform the spouse?
I feel like you're one, and I would want to know if he loans money out. So me personally would say yes. But I also have loaned money out as well. And before my husband transitioned, I didn't tell him. But when it came out that I had loaned him to person some money and I didn't get it back, then it became a problem. Because he said, had you told me, I would have already told you that he had asked me for money. And I didn't loan it to him, so he felt like he could come to you and get it. And he did. And I never got it back to this day.
And that takes me to my next question. If a family member comes to you and he wants to borrow some money, and you say, I just don't have it right now, okay? And they go to your spouse and ask them the same thing, should that spouse loan him the money?
That's
Knowing that he already asked the other spouse.
Okay, so now if the spouse knows that the person has already asked one, it's like you're playing sides.
Right.
So my thing is, if my spouse said no, no means no.
No means no.
So because now you're gonna have issues, you're gonna have problems in your home about somebody else. So no means no. If he or she says no, then no means no.
It's almost like you would choose that other person over your spouse.
Right. And like I said, 9 times out of 10, now if it's my family should come to me, not go to my spouse. You see what I'm saying? And my family, I got a couple of them I might say yes, but no. Now my family should come to me, and I'll let them know that I'm going to discuss with my spouse. But I would feel some type of way if it's my family and they go to my spouse. That should be a flag right there, because it'll be a reason why didn't they come to you? You know what I'm saying?
The reason they didn't come to you because they didn't want you to know.
Right. So therefore, that means that something ain't right in the pot.
There you go. I think it should be established early in a relationship as to how we're going to loan money. Now, me personally, what we did was we talk about it, so-and-so wants to borrow some money. And we decide at that point if we want to do it. Now, between us, we can decide yes or no. Now, when they go back to the person that wants to borrow the money, she can say, we don't have it, or we can't do that right now. Okay? Now, if I was the one to say, no, I don't think we should, and you say, well, I really want to, that's fine. I was aware of that you did it. So that's cool. But when you just go and do it on your own because you think it's your money, I have a problem with it because it's our money. No matter who made the money or whose account it's in, it's still our money. Okay? Now you're right. You have a right to spend what you want to spend the way you want to spend. But you have to be a little bit considerate when it comes to having a husband or a wife. Go ahead.
I want to speak on that
Go
because
ahead.
I kind of disagree with what you're saying. Well, first, let me address Teresa when she said, like, if a family member asks for money and you said, no, we don't have it right now, but then they go and ask the spouse, and then, I think that that's wrong. But as far as the accounts or whatever, you can have your account, your husband can have his account, you may have a joint account. As long as your household bills are taken care of, if it's your immediate family or whether it's his immediate family, if they ask for money and if you have it to let them borrow it, I don't see a problem with doing it. I don't necessarily think you have to tell your spouse. I mean, if you feel that you're going to get it back, I don't really see the big deal. But they're not going to, take advantage and continue to get money from you and never pay it back.
Now, I will say, if somebody came to me and they said, I want $50, I wouldn't have to talk to my husband about
Right,
50 bucks.
absolutely.
I'm talking about change.
That's right.
When you
Well,
start
you
doing-
consider
different,
$400 change.
Yeah.
I don't consider that
That's
change.
not
Ben.
change.
I know.
That's
yeah,
not
that was
change.
that's why we
Yeah.
went home and had that discussion. But
Right.
$50 went.
And we're back. Before we move on a little bit, I think we're going to elaborate a little bit, Beth, on that security issue. Because you didn't get a chance to speak before, so we're going to hear you now. I'm going to let you have it right now.
Sometimes women depend on someone to reassure them of who they are and what they are. That they're pretty enough, smart enough, good enough, do things well. And sometimes women will actually depend on their man and other people to tell them, to make them feel secure within themselves. And as for me, that actually is a problem that I have because I have a lot of insecurities with myself. And my husband is very, very reassuring, but because of my insecurities, it's hard for me to accept what he says. Now, that doesn't cause a problem in our relationship, but if I were much younger or if we did not have a strong foundation, me relying on him so much, if he did not provide what I thought that I needed from him, that I should get from within myself, would cause an issue. If that makes sense. Like,
Yeah.
you can't depend on somebody else to make you feel complete within yourself. You just can't. And a lot of people do really want a lot of reassurance that they let their insecurities rule them, and sometimes they make bad choices because of their insecurities, because they're looking for reassurance.
That's right. And insecurities and people having low self-esteem, that kind of breaks the communication as well, because you might have had somebody to tell you, oh, what you say, that doesn't matter, or that was stupid. So then, you're feeling like you don't want to talk because what you're saying is not relevant enough. Self-esteem plays an important part in how you communicate with people.
And I will say, as far as like financial security, women do not ever depend on a man, as well as a man not depend on a woman. Do not depend on somebody else to take care of you. Be
That's
able
right.
to take care of yourself. Because whenever you have a relationship, you want your relationship to be for the right reasons, not for the wrong reasons.
That's right.
Do not depend on somebody else to take care of you. Work 2 jobs. Develop a little side hustle, taking pictures, making cupcakes, making chicken salad, whatever you can do. Do not depend on somebody else financially, because you will be miserable.
What about the man that's depending on the wife financially?
No, 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 no.
Do you have any idea what the percentage of men or boys that want to be men or should be men are just sitting back waiting for the spouse or the wife to be the breadwinner? Do you think that percentage is high?
Well, I mean, I know it happens because I think sometimes whenever a person is looking for a spouse, they may be looking for someone who is in a certain type of career or somebody who has certain assets, whether it's rental houses or a career that they have where their spouse makes more money. Especially like if one person, like a lot of women traditionally are nurses, RNs make a lot of money. You know, a lot of times their husbands don't make quite as much money. Most of the time RNs are women.
So do you think that's a factor?
I think it is with some men. It wouldn't be in our house, but I think it is for a lot because it goes. Some men, I'm telling you, a lot of men have a lot of pride and they feel like they have to be the breadwinner, so they don't want to marry somebody who makes more money than they do. However, I know sometimes whenever a person dies, have you ever known whenever somebody dies, there's somebody of the opposite sex just waiting in the wings thinking they're going to get insurance money?
I think that happens a lot.
That happens
of times.
a lot. That happens a lot.
But you know something? I believe that sometimes when a spouse passes and the one that's lost the spouse moves forward and they find another love or new love, everybody always say, she was just sitting there waiting. And a lot of times, that's not the case. It just happened that way. But I believe that you should live each day like
it's your last.
It's your last day. And that's the way I want to go out. I want to live it like it's my last day. And I want to be happy. And whatever makes me happy, I want to be happy. I'm going to do it. And whatever makes my spouse happy, I want to be able to give that to her. Whatever's on your bucket list, I want to see it through because my bucket list has already been filled. Mm-hmm. And I am content. I am where I want to be. I can't complain. I can say I'm blessed and highly favored. And I guess God has just smiled on me. And I think he's given me a second chance to take the security, the trust, the time, the loyalty, the communication, the respect, honesty, and intimacy, and put it all together and create a lasting, loving relationship.
You just said something you just said something though that really, really strikes a chord with me, because one thing that we need to do is practice gratitude. We need to be thankful for the good things that we have, because whatever even the Bible tells us that whatever we dwell on is what we get. And so if we practice gratitude and we give thanks for all the good things that God has given us and all the blessings in life, we're going to get more. It just happens that way. If we dwell on the misery, then the misery is going to grow. And if we dwell on the good things that we have been given and gifted, then that grows. That's true in my own life. And we all have struggles. We're not going to sit here. We could all talk about our troubles, yeah. But the more we dwell on the good things, the more good things that the universe and God gives us.
I strongly agree. Because if you just knew where I came from,
yes,
you would be amazed. It's just amazing, and I'm truly thankful. And I would tell anybody that whatever your dreams are, don't ever let someone tell you what you cannot do.
Absolutely.
I think that's another show. We don't want to get into that one right now. But ladies, please, if you don't do anything else, if you can hear me right now, take some time out to just talk to your spouse. Just talk to him and let him know how you feel. And try to get it where you go out on a date night and you just use it for communication purposes. Because communication is very, very important. If you can't talk to your spouse and your spouse don't want to listen, then you're going to have some problems. Okay? So we're getting ready to close this thing out tonight. But, ladies, you have an assignment. Talk to your spouse. Chiquita, what you got to say?
I kind of wanted to go back to what you said. You said that you were content in your life and that you felt blessed and God gave you this and gave you that. Is it selfish to say, okay, I feel blessed and I'm, grateful for the things that I have? But at the same time, Beth was saying, don't let anybody hold you back from being ambitious and the things that you want in life. Is it selfish to still dream about having things?
The answer is no. Don't ever, never stop dreaming. Okay? I grew up by people telling me, it started when you're young and they ask you, what is it that you want to be? What do you want to have in life? And I swear, I'm going to sit here and tell you, I was told, my response to that person was, I just want to have a big, nice house and 2 new cars in the driveway. I was 10 years old. And you know what they told me? Stop dreaming.
I'm sorry.
They told me to stop dreaming. And that I was 10 years old. So you know how long that's been? It's still with me.
Don't forget.
You know what? I never stopped dreaming.
I'm sorry that was said to you.
And I will continue to move forth. That's how I tell all the children that's out there listening. Parents, you should also tell your children, whatever they want to be, they can. They just got to work hard.
Speak
and
life.
go get it. Because there's nothing you can't do or have. Sometimes you got to work twice as hard to get it. Because some people over here are going to get it and they didn't do anything. But if you want it, go get it. Beth? You got anything?
I do. A lot of relationships, it's hard for some people to have a relationship. It's not easy. A lot of people have to work really hard in their relationships. Since we're talking about relationships, I'm going to say 2 things. Practice gratitude that I spoke about a while ago. And the other thing is, if your relationship is on a fence, you go home and you look at your significant other, your person, and you give them a compliment. You look them in the eye and you say to them, have I ever told you what beautiful eyes you have? Or whenever you smile, it lights up the room. Or you have the biggest heart. Something. Go home and compliment that person and practice gratitude. And if you do that once a day, every day, those 2 things, over time, it will change your life.
And your spouse will probably think something's wrong with you.
Let them think.
But that's very good. That's a very good suggestion, Beth. And I had something else in mind, but I think we're going to hold that off until a little closer to Christmas because we want to do something special for a couple. But we're going to hold off on that one. But as we get prepared to close out tonight, I just want to share something with you that one of my helpers came up to me a couple of days ago. And he came up to me and he said, do God forgive sinners?
Yes.
I mean, out of the blue. And it was kind of shocking coming from this particular person. So I looked at him. I was kind of shocked. I said, we serve a forgiving God. If he didn't forgive sinners, no one would be in heaven.
That's right. We're all sinners. That's right.
It's the Ray Mark Radio Show, and we're out.
That's right, and I'm going to keep on telling it.
It's the Ray Mart Radio Show.
Some of it you're going to like, some of it you ain't.
Ray Mart Radio. Radio. Radio.